With 3 selections, then we'll have prayer, come back with another selection, we'll have the introduction of our speaker, and then we will have one more selection before our speaker for this evening. It's time for the walk.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Hope y'all didn't eat too much. But we're going to start with 228 in the Red Book. 228. Victory to win. Are we numbered? Pressing the battle in Jesus' name, the victory to win. We're raising the banner of truth and love, o'er fields of vice and sin. Onward our soldiers in bright array, marching, yes, marching from day to day. Tramp, 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 the victory to win. Tramp, 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 the victory to win. Tramp, 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 o'er fields of vice and sin. Onward our soldiers in bright array, marching, yes, marching from day to day. Tramp, 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 the victory to win. Wrestling the battle in Jesus' name, the victory is sure. Jesus, our leader in this great fight, will to the end endure. He will lead faithfully in the way, marching, yes, marching from day to day. Tramp, 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 the victory to win. Tramp, 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 the victory to win. Tramp, 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 o'er fields of vice and sin. Onward our soldiers in bright array, and marching, yes, marching from day to day. Tramp, 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 the victory to win. Pressing the battle in Jesus' name, the victory is won. Show in the world that the Father's will must here on earth be done. Show in the wicked in vain their fight against the great leader of truth and right. Tramp, 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 the victory to win. Tramp, 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 the victory to win. Tramp, 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 o'er fields of vice and sin. Onward our soldiers in bright array, and marching, yes, marching from day to day. Tramp, 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 the victory to win. Our next selection will be page 262. 262. I love my Savior too.
Yes.
Are we numbered? Jesus, my heavenly King, loves me, I know. Praises to him I sing, onward I go. Closely to him I cling, blessings still flow. I love my Savior too, and I love my Savior. He loves me.
helping along. Voices will sweetly blend under his charm. I love my Savior too, and I love my Savior. He loves me. Yes, he loves me too. Now I see his favor in everything I do.
356 will be the song before our prayer. 356. Won't it be wonderful there? 356. When with the Savior we enter the glory land, won't it be wonderful there? In the troubles and cares of the story land, won't it be wonderful there? And won't it be wonderful there? Having no burdens to bear over there, joyously singing with our bells are ringing. Oh, won't it be wonderful there? Oh, walking and talking with Christ the supernal one, won't it be wonderful there? Praising, adoring the matchless eternal one, won't it be wonderful there? And won't it be wonderful there? Having no burdens to bear over there, joyously singing with our bells all ringing. Oh, won't it be wonderful there? There where the tempest will never be sweeping us, won't it be wonderful there? Sure that forever the Lord will be keeping us, won't it be wonderful there? And won't it be wonderful there? And having no burdens to bear over there, joyously singing with our bells all ringing. Oh, won't it be wonderful there?
Let us pray. Dear Father in heaven, we come to you at this time, thanking you for today's blessings. Thank you, Father, for the weather, and thank you for this time you've given unto us to come together, to sing songs of praise, to worship you, to study your word, and to fellowship with one another. Thank you, Father, for our safe arrival. Help us, Father, to continue to grow in faith and trust, realizing that all things are possible with you. Father, on behalf of those of our members, brothers and sisters who have lost had death in the family, for those who are hospitalized, bless those members, bless their families, and help us, Father, to comfort them as you comfort us. Father, we thank you for Brother Alex, who's spending this time with us. Thank you for his energy, for his youthfulness, and for his knowledge of your word. And thank you, Father, for his family as they continue to grow. Bless them, watch over them as they continue to move through this life. And for each one of us, Father, we pray that we will continue to seek you out of the book, read, understand, apply to our life, that we may have the mind of Christ. Again, Father, thank you for all you do for us. Help us to always be grateful and thankful, regardless of the situation we find ourselves in. In Jesus' name we pray, thanks we give. Amen. Amen.
189. 189. I'm going that way. Are we numbered?
I've heard of a land of joy and peace and wonderful life and wonderful life, a beautiful place of nations fair, and skies ever bright, and skies ever brighter. Oh, obey the Savior dear, forever shall stay, forever shall stay, and having been saved by grace divine, I'm going that way, 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 and Jesus the Savior I adore is with me each day, is with me each day. I'm clinging to Him, I'm clinging to Him, and never to stray, and never to stray. Yes, singing His praises all day long. I'm going that way, I'm going that way. The glorious news I tell and sing, as onward I go, as onward I go, that those who are still astray in sin, my Savior may know, my Savior may know. I want them to sing His praise above some beautiful day, some beautiful day. For glory to God who died for me, I'm going that way, 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 and Jesus the Savior I adore is with me each day, is with me each day. I'm clinging to Him, I'm clinging to Him, and never to stray, and never to stray. Yes, singing His praises all day long. I'm going that way, I'm going that way. I know I shall meet Him at the gate when trials are past, when trials are past. I know I shall meet Him face to face in glory at last, in glory at last. And oh, I believe that when we meet, well done He will say, well done He will say. For trusting His soul redeeming love, I'm going that way. I'm going that way, I'm going that way, I'm going that way, I'm going that way, and Jesus the Savior I adore is with me each day, is with me each day. I'm clinging to Him, I'm clinging to Him, and never to stray, and never to stray. Yes, singing His praises all day long. I'm going that way, I'm going that way. Amen.
It is indeed a blessing to be here once again, to hear another portion of God's Word. I'm excited about what God has been doing with us this week. If you missed it on this weekend, the youth did an outstanding job on Saturday with the youth extravaganza. And then on yesterday, we can't call him a featured guest speaker. We have to call him a featured speaker. Because he's no longer a guest here. He's at home. And we're going to love on him and Mercedes and Ava so much they just won't ever want to leave us. So we want them to stay with us for now. So we're going to make sure we do everything to create a loving atmosphere, not just for them, but for all of our guests who are with us tonight. We want you to know you are our honored guests. It's no mistake or happenstance or coincidence that you're here tonight. The message that's been prepared is just for you. So I'm looking forward to what we're about to hear tonight. On Sunday morning, we were encouraged to know what time it is. It's time to get involved. We had an outstanding message during Sunday school with that, and then Sunday morning worship, we had it's time to get right. Yeah, we had some folk that missed Sunday school, so they missed which one was first. And then that afternoon, it's time to be real. So I can't wait to find out what time it is tonight. Our featured speaker in the person of Brother Alexander Jamerison, and he actually lives in Searcy with his wife Mercedes and their daughter Ava. He's the Director of Diversity of Church Relations at Harding University. Alex has graduated from Harding with a Bible and preaching degree. He went on to complete his Master's of Arts in Christian Ministry with a focus in preaching from Liberty University. He is now pursuing his Doctor's of Education in Pastoral Care and Counseling at Liberty University. Alexander has traveled and preached in various places on behalf of the university and through his personal ministry, Preaching the Distance. He may tell you about that website he has entitled Preaching the Distance a little later on. We want our college students, not college students, our high school seniors to know Alex has brought scholarships from Harding. So if you're here, at least 3 nights this week on Thursday, he's going to give away at least $1,000 in scholarships. And so you need to tell your friends. And we even made it easy for you. We put a video promo on YouTube and our website. It's the Youth Extravaganza and Gospel Meeting promo. So share that on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever else you got. All your social media pages. Share that information so we can reach as many young people as we can. And not just the young people, we want to reach the whole family. We don't want to leave anybody out. And so we're excited about what God is going to do with us. The song leader is going to come with another verse of a song. Let us stand and make ready to receive a word from his God's servant, Brother Alexander Jamerison, from right here in the Galmont Church of Christ. All right.
459, Glory Land Way. 459.
I'm in the way, the bright and shining way. I'm in the glory land way. Telling the world that Jesus saved today. Oh, I'm in the glory land way. Oh, I'm in the glory land way. I'm in the glory land way. Heaven is near, and the way road is clear of fall. I'm in the glory land way. Oh, listen to the call, the gospel call today. Again, the glory land way. Oh, wonders come home, oh, hasten to obey. Oh, I'm in the glory land way. Oh, well, I'm in the glory land way. I'm in the sold it. You sold it. How could you do such a thing? I can't even talk to you right now. You sold our family most precious jewel. My mother gave that to me, and I passed it down to you, and you sold it. How could you sell it? I can't talk to you right now. But Mama, I didn't know. We needed the money. I had no choice but to sell it. The guy gave me $100 for it, Mom. Look, he gave me $100. He gave you $100 for our most precious jewel to the family. My mother gave that to me, and I gave that to you, and you sold it for $100. I can't have this conversation right now. I just can't have it. It's time to get our worth.
All right.
It's time to get our worth. I want you guys to turn with me to Ezekiel chapter 16. And if you were here for Sunday school or yesterday, you will know I already told you guys I love the Old Testament a lot. And it's because you can find a lot of God's heart written in the words in this Bible in the Old Testament. Oh, yeah. Ezekiel chapter 16, one of my favorite passages of all time. And we're going to begin in verse 4 and work our way through verse 14. And as you turn there, I just want you guys to know that I'm going to try to contain myself as best as possible. And you just hold me to it by not saying too many amens.
Amen.
I know what night you wanted to turn into. All right. Ezekiel chapter 16, we're going to begin in verse 4 and work our way down through verse 14. In verse 4 it says, "On the day you were born, your cord was not cut, nor were you washed with water to make you clean, nor were you rubbed with salt or wrapped in clothes. No one looked on you with pity or had compassion enough to do any of these things for you. Rather, you were thrown out into the open field, for on the day you were born, you were despised. Then I passed by you and saw you kicking about in your blood. And as you lay there in your blood, I said to you, live. I made you grow like a plant on the field. You grew and developed and entered puberty. Your breasts had formed and your hair had grown, yet you were stark naked. Later I passed by, and when I looked at you and saw that you were old enough for love, I spread the corner of my garment over you and covered your naked body. I gave you my solemn oath and entered into a covenant with you, declares the sovereign Lord, and you became mine. I bathed you with water and washed the blood from you and put ornaments on you. I clothed you with an embroidered dress and put sandals of fine leather on you. I dressed you with fine linen and covered you with costly garments. I adorned you with jewelry. I put bracelets on your arms and a necklace around your neck. And I put a ring on your nose, earrings on your ears, and a beautiful crown on your head. So you were adorned with gold and silver. Your clothes were of fine linen and costly fabrics and embroidered clothes. Your food was honey, olive oil, and the finest flour. You became very beautiful and rose to be a queen. And your fame spread among the nations on account of your beauty, because the splendor I had given you made your beauty perfect, declares the sovereign Lord. It's time to get your worth.
All right.
Ezekiel, whose name means may God strengthen, was called by God. He was called by God to prophesy to the Jewish people during a very difficult time. He was called to preach to the Jewish people a message of judgment and salvation during the time of exile.
All right.
But while doing so, he exposes a raw truth in chapter 16 that I believe we all need to be made aware of. Few chapters in the Bible actually provide a more forceful illustration of the love of God than this. God's grace and love towards us is no more clearly and creatively expressed than in Ezekiel chapter 16.
So as we break this down and figure out what truth is it that God is trying to get us to understand, you know I didn't come to preach by myself.
All right.
You guys had about 3 sermons to realize this by now, so you know I didn't come ready to preach by myself. So with that being said, this is going to be a collective effort tonight because I'm tired and I know you guys are tired, so we need each other to get through this message tonight. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so repeat after me. It's time, to get your worth.
Your worth.
It's time, to get your worth.
Your word.
You know, the most beautiful thing happened December 9th at 12:45 a.m. My baby girl was born into this world.
Yeah, all right.
Now, I'm going to tell you, I had a lot of fears approaching this day. One of my biggest fears was that I didn't want to touch her because she was going to be all yucky when she came out.
Mercy.
She was going to have the mucus and all the nasty stuff that you see on TV when a baby is born. And I did not want to touch her. This was my biggest fear, that I was going to have to touch her when she had all the stuff on. And you may be looking at me as if I'm a bad person, but I'm really not. I was just nervous because of all the yuckiness that came out. And so I said to myself, listen, whatever happens, when she comes out, no matter how yucky she is, if the doctor don't rinse her off, my arms can rinse her off. I was on December 9th at 12:45, all the fears and the nerves that I had inside of me, they all went away because all I cared about was holding my baby girl in her arms, in my arms, no matter how filthy, no matter how nasty, no matter how yucky she may be. When the doctor reached her out for me to grab her, I was going to take her. I was going to take her because that was my baby girl. I want you guys to look at what's happening in verses 4 through 5 as we go back and read it again. In verses 4 through 5 of Ezekiel chapter 16, it says, on the day you were born, your cord was not cut, nor were you washed with water to make you clean, nor were you rubbed with salt or wrapped in clothes. No one looked on you with pity or had compassion enough to do any of these things for you. Rather, you were thrown out into the open field, for on the day you were born, you were despised. In these verses, we come into contact with a young lady who was just born, and even from the first day of birth, no one wanted her. Even on the first day that she was born, she was being mistreated. See, some of us complain about being mistreated yesterday, but this lady, she was mistreated from the day that she was born. It says that her navel cord was not even cut. She was not washed off. She was not cleansed. She was not wrapped in clothing. She wasn't done anything to. Nothing was done to her. All the nasty stuff when she was born, it was still on her. And no one came to grab her. When I started reading this, my heart dropped. Because I started reading this in the context of what it would be like for me as a father to approach my daughter from this place. And I just couldn't fathom the idea of my daughter being born into this world and there's nobody there to hold on to her when she's crying, when she's making her first lines. I could not understand this. I couldn't even imagine. I couldn't put myself in the mental space that Ava would have to be to go through life knowing that people threw you out, didn't wash you, didn't put any salt on you to cleanse your body, didn't wrap you with any fine linen, didn't hold you but cast you out in the field. No clothes were given to cover her up, and no one wanted anything to do with her. No one came to help even a little bit. No compassion, and let alone not an ounce of pity, was projected on this baby girl. You know what this tells me? This tells me that we live in a not so awesome world. That's what this tells me. This tells me that we live in a not so awesome world. And there are many people in here today that can relate to this young lady in this story being illustrated in this chapter. God is speaking through the prophet Ezekiel right now, and he's trying to explain to the people of Judah how they were originally treated before he came along. He's trying to let them understand, listen, you were thrown out, you were cast out, didn't nobody want you, didn't nobody clean you, didn't nobody want to have anything to do with you. He is illustrating this little girl being abandoned by her parents as a way to explain to them how the world treated them. Many of us in here today need to be reminded about how mean and disgusting and degrading and hurtful this world can be. Because too many of us out here loving this world, and you have no idea what this world is. This world is something that'll give birth to you and spit you out and not wash you off, not cover you up, cast you out in the field and don't want nothing to do with you. This world we live in cares nothing about us. And as people, we are forever being judged. As people, we're forever being judged. We're forever having to question our image. We are forever having to revamp who we are so as to keep up with the time at hand. Some of us in here today are dealing with being bullied. Some of us are dealing with low self-esteem. Others are dealing with body image issues, while others are dealing with the demands of popularity. Some of us are dealing with family drama, while others are dealing with physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual turmoil. We're all out here trying to be protected by the stings of the world that's constantly charging at our front doors, because we realize this world is not so awesome of a place. It's a monster trying to take us in and chew us up and spit us out. We have death all around us. We have poverty all around us. Brokenness has actually become the norm. It's very rare for you to find somebody that's not broken, for somebody to come from a house with both parents, for somebody to come from a house where they received the education that was due to them to receive. Right. It's crazy that the world we live in is now made brokenness the norm.
Right. Mercy. Help.
We out here hurting and no one even cares to stop and ask us how we doing.
Right.
I'm saying all this because I want you to understand the state of the world we live in. The state of the world we live in has made many of us question our worth, our value, our purpose, our goals, our tomorrow. And the truth is, there is no way to unexplain the hurt that this world is dishing out.
Right. Mercy.
Do you know that's the sad part? The sad part is that there is no way that we can unexplain the hurt that this world is dishing out. That's because this world is not so awesome of a place.
Right.
Repeat after me. It's time.
It's time
to get
your
worth.
Your worth.
It's time to get your worth. We live in a not so awesome place, but we serve an all-time awesome God.
Hey.
I want you guys to know on December 9th at 12:45, I realized how amazing my wife was. Now, mind you, I realized how amazing she was before because I married her.
All right.
But when you get to witness your wife go through, the process of giving a child, there's something beautiful about that. The skin glows a little different. But it wasn't the glow of her skin. It was the way that she endured the pain.
Yes, sir.
It was what she did leading up to December 9th. It was the fact that the room, she made sure that she was working me. She was whipping, boy. She would say, get the paint done. Get the bed put together. Get the crib put together. Get the bouncy house put together. She made sure everything was in tip-top shape. And not only that, she made sure that she kept her body healthy because she wanted to make sure this baby had every bit of chance to live as possible.
Yes, sir.
So whatever the doctor said do, she did. The doctor kept telling her, you walking? Yes, sir. You eating right? Yes, sir. Fruits and vegetables. All right. And then when the moment came, no matter how many tears were shed, she made sure that that baby came into this world.
Yes.
And when that baby came into this world, she would not stop at anything to make sure that she held that baby as soon as she could.
Right.
And as soon as I could, I made sure I took the baby over there. I gave him that quick hug and then I took it over there. And when the baby went into Mercedes' hands, the way that she looked at her, that's the way I experienced God looking at this baby girl that was cast out of the field. I want you guys to look with me at verses 8 through 14. And I'm not trying to put my wife on a pedestal. I'm trying to get y'all to understand how I am seeing God play out in these verses. Look at verse 8. It says, later I passed by, and when I looked at you and saw that you were old enough for love, I spread the corner of my garment over you and covered your naked body. I gave you my solemn oath and entered into a covenant with you, declares the sovereign Lord, and you became mine. I bathed you with water and washed the blood from you and put ornaments on you. I clothed you with embroidered dress and put sandals of fine leather on you. I dressed you in fine linen, covered you with costly garments. I adorned you with jewelry. I put bracelets on your arms and a necklace around your neck. And I put a ring on your nose, earrings on your ears, and a beautiful crown on your head. So you were adorned with gold and silver. Your clothes were of fine linen and costly fabric and embroidered clothes. Your food was honey, olive oil, and finest flour. You became very beautiful and rose to be a queen. And your fame spread among the nations on account of your beauty, because the splendor I had given you made your beauty perfect, declares the sovereign Lord.
Yes.
In these verses, there are some attributes about God that's being revealed to us. In verse 6 and 8, we see that God passes by the young lady in the Bible, and he says, I saw you. I'm going to let that sink in for a second. God passes by this baby that was rejected, that was cast out, that was seen as worthless, that was seen as filthy, that was not covered, that was not put salt on, that was just cast out and abandoned. And God passed by her in the field, and he says, I saw you. God was literally observing this girl. God was watching her intently and closely, so close that he was able to see her condition. He says, I saw you in your blood. God is watchful, people.
Yes, sir.
God is watchful, and he sees us in our condition. He sees us when we are all messed up in our bloodiness. He sees us when we are all covered in the sins of the world. He sees us in our brokenness. He sees us in our tears. He sees us in our worthlessness. He sees us in all of our messiness. And yet he still says, I'm observing you. I am watching you. What we're able to see about God is that he is watchful. He is always looking and observing us. He does this because he's waiting for us to get to a point in life where we can receive what it is he's trying to give us.
All right. It's all right. Say it again.
He's watching us because he's waiting for us to get to a point where we can receive what it is he's trying to give to us.
All right.
See, I want y'all to understand something about the God we serve. The God we serve wants to give to us abundantly. Yes. But we got to be at a place where we can receive it. Yes. So he's watching us to see, okay, they're not there yet. They still on milk. They're not even ready for the chewed up food yet. I'm trying to give them a filet mignon.
All right.
But they can't even handle the mashed potatoes, so I'm going to wait. God is trying to give us something right now, but he says, I got to wait. And because I have to wait, I have to watch you during this waiting process, because whenever you are ready to receive what I'm trying to give you, best believe it's going to come knocking on your door, but I got to watch you first. How awesome is it to have a God that is watching us?
All right.
I tell you, my favorite passage, and I need Brother Harris to let me preach this, is on Psalms 46, when it says that God is in the midst of us. And he will not be moved. I'm talking God is always around. God is here in the midst of us. He is watching us. He is not leaving us alone. God is observing us. He's seeing us in our condition because he's trying to do something about that condition. But he says you got to be ready first.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Amen.
Yes, sir.
That's all right.
He says, I'm always looking because I'm ready to give. God is wanting to give us a covering that we can only receive when we're ready to receive it.
Yes. It's all right.
God is wanting to give us a covering, but he only is able to give that to us when we're ready to receive it. When we're of that time, when we're of that condition. You see, he said, I saw you when you were at the time for love. It's real hard to give something to someone when they don't want it.
Right.
It's real hard to give something to somebody when they don't want it. You ever tried to give somebody $1 and they like, no, you keep that, you keep that, you keep that. Well, I'm trying to help you out. You ever tried to give somebody a compliment and they all like, I'm trying to encourage you.
All right.
You ever tried to give somebody the word of God and they're like, I ain't trying to hear that right now? Listen, I'm trying to help you.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
It's real hard to give something to somebody when they don't want it. So here's God. He says, you know what? I'm going to wait till you want it. I'm going to wait till you're at a place where you can receive it. Because what I'm trying to give is a covering. What I'm trying to give is a healing. What I'm trying to give is a feeding. Did you see? He said, I put clothing on you. I put fine ornaments on you. I gave you honey. I gave you the finest flour. See, God is trying to give us a covering. God is trying to give us a feeding. God is trying to give us a healing. God is also trying to give us a cleansing. Because we are that child laying in the field, covered in our blood, kicking around like we're having fun. Nobody is out here wanting us except for God, who can take us in all of our filth. My wife can't take me in all of my filth. Believe me, she can't take me in all of my filth. And believe me, I can't take her in all of her filth. It's too much. I'm needy. I'm picky. I lose my temper sometimes. Am I giving too much of myself away? Are they going to still let me minister to them a little bit? Listen, I got temptations. We all do. My wife can't handle all my filthiness, and you know what? She don't try, because she knows the only person that can handle all of this filth is God. We out here trying to allow the world to come watch us, observe us, and give to us. But the world ain't got nothing to give that can cover all of this filth. The world ain't got nothing to give that can cleanse all of this blood on our hands. The world ain't got an answer. But I tell you, we serve a God that do.
Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord.
I'm going to give you that answer in a little bit. I'm going to make you sit at the edge of your seat for that one. God is not just watching. He's not just a watcher. He's a coverer and a cleaner. How awesome. How awesome is he? But you know the crazy thing is, his awesomeness don't just stop there. Y'all thought he was just giving you the bare minimum. As we look at the rest of the passage, God is providing ornaments, bracelets, necklaces, fine linen wrappings, rings, and crowns. I mean, it would have been good for God to just come by and say, I saw you. All right. It would have been good for God to just simply say, I acknowledged you. Have you ever met that person where you're like, man, I really want them to acknowledge me. And then when they acknowledge you with their head nod, you're like, yes! Yes! They know I'm alive. They know I'm here. Listen, if anybody is able to do that, it's God. All God had to do was just say, I saw you in your blood. He didn't have to do nothing else but say, I saw you. But see, he didn't stop there. He said, I saw you, I observed you. And then when she came of age to receive what he wanted to give, he said, I'm giving it all to you. He cleaned her up. He put clothes on her. It would have been enough just to stop there. But he didn't stop there. He said, I'm going to give you some bracelets. All right. All right, now cooking. I got some bracelets on my wrist. I'm looking good. I'm blinging out. Oh, he gave me some earrings. All right. He loves me a little bit. He loves me a little bit. Oh, he gave me a crown. Oh.
Yes, sir. All right.
He gave me a crown.
Yes, sir.
I'm telling you, God could have stopped at acknowledging her, but the God we serve is so awesome that he don't just stop at the bare minimum. He gives abundantly.
Yes, sir.
He gives abundantly.
Yes, sir.
See, you out here waiting for your boyfriend to give you what only God can give you. Your boyfriend can't give to you abundantly, but God can. Your girlfriend, you waiting for her to give it to you abundantly. She can't give it to you abundantly. God can. Some of our people having marriage issues because you searching for in your spouse what only God can give you. You searching for abundant giving, but your spouse can't give that to you.
Come on.
I think I'm too hyped.
That's all right.
I think I'm too hyped. God don't just give the bare minimum. God gives abundantly. He says, I'm not just going to give you a covering. I'm going to put a little dazzle alongside of that. I'm not just going to clean you. I'm going to put a nice little outfit on you on top of that. I'm not just going to give you a bracelet. I'm going to give you an earring too. And I'm not going to give you one. I'm going to give you two. And I'm not going to leave you out here all good looking and stomach empty.
All right.
What's the best way to win a woman over? Take her out to a nice restaurant. All right, maybe that's for me. All right, so he says, I'm going to give you some things, but I'm going to give you some extra stuff too. I'm going to just dazzle you all up with the extra toppings of jewelry. Is our God not awesome? He sees us in our filth, and he still gives to us. I don't know anybody that can do that. I don't know anybody who sees us in our filth. I mean, in the rawness. Because we all know. Don't nobody in here know how raw our filth is except for us.
That's right. All right.
And when you start thinking about all the stuff you did in your past,
All right.
and all the stuff you want to do right now in your current position, and all the stuff you fighting against not doing in the future,
Yes, sir.
you don't let people into that inner place.
That's right.
But there's somebody who don't have to be let in because he already knows.
Yes, sir.
He's already knowing. And he even sees you in that place and he still says, I want you. Yes, we live in a not so awesome world, but we serve an all-time awesome God. Repeat after me. It's time, to get your worth. It's time, to get your worth. You know, I asked Mercedes, I said, was it worth it? I said, was it worth all the pain? Because things didn't go how they were supposed to go. Things went differently. that birthing process was difficult. I mean, I was in the corner crying myself, but I didn't do it in front of her because, I have to be strong for it. But I shed some tears too. That was a hard process for us, y'all. It was the scariest situation I've ever been in my life. And I asked her, I said, was it worth it? She said she wouldn't have it any other way. I want you guys to look at verse 6. Verse 6 says, then I passed by you and saw you kicking in your blood. And as you lay there in your blood, I said to you, live. I said to you, live. Left to die, this child was left to die. God passes by her and rescues her and raises her and eventually pledges his troth to her in marriage. And he lavishes great riches on her. And this is very difficult for many of us to grasp on the surface level because we're trying to read this from where we stand. This is hard for many of us to understand because we're trying to read this from where we stand, and we cannot look at God's love for us through the lenses of our love for ourselves because our lenses are crowded with smudges of lies, negative experiences, the devil influences, and the world's fall and distortion. I'm going to say that again because I know that went over a little bit.
All right, cool.
We can't really understand the depth of what's happening in this story is because we're trying to read it from where we stand. But we cannot look at God's love for us through the lenses of our love for ourselves because we don't even love ourselves. We can't look at God's love for us through the lenses of our love for ourselves because our eyes are distorted with the devil lies, our negative experiences in life, and the world's fall and distortion. It's all messed up. We're trying to understand a holy and righteous love in an unholy and unrighteous world. It's impossible. That's why the Bible tells us, for his understanding is not our understanding. Which is why we cannot rely on ourselves to understand the magnitude of God's love. It's impossible. We can only rely on the words of God. And the words of God say, live. The words of God say, live. So what I'm telling you right now is we got to fight, people. We have to fight against Satan's lies in our lives. We have to fight against the lies of this world. We have to fight against the lies the devil is telling you when he says you're not good enough. Fight against the lies that say you have no purpose, that you can't trust the words of the Lord, that you are not beautiful enough, that you don't belong here. Fight. Fight against Satan. The lies clouding your judgment. Fight against the filth that our experiences have shrouded our minds with because we serve a God bigger than anything that we are fighting.
Amen. Thank you.
You think that you are weak, but the God that you're fighting with is strong. And what you cannot do, believe me, he make up for more than you can ever imagine. We serve a God bigger than our pain. We serve a God bigger than our past. We serve a God bigger than our experiences. We serve a God bigger than our depression. We serve a God bigger than our molestation. We serve a God bigger than our bullying. We serve a God bigger than our today. We serve a God bigger than our yesterday. And we definitely serve a God bigger than our tomorrow. So keep fighting. And when you worn out, I want you to know that you have stronger than you know. I'm moving away from the passage just a little bit because I want you to understand what God is saying. I saw you in your blood, and then I saw you you were at the time, and I said to you, live. There's so many people out here giving their lives over to depression, giving their lives over to suicide, giving their lives over to anger, giving their lives over to pressure, giving their lives over to sin, giving their lives over to sexual immorality, giving their lives over to death. And God said, no, I don't want you to give your life over to death. I want you to give your life over to live. But in order for you to do that, you got to fight. But if you know the truth, like I know the truth, we're not able to keep up in this battle. We get worn out, we get tired, we get exhausted, our muscles grow fatigued, and we just can't go another day sometimes. In those moments, I want you to remember this. Lean on God because he is our stronger than us ever. Let me tell you what that means. 2 Samuel chapter 21. There's a story with David. And David in verse 15 and 17, he goes out to war with his soldiers and he's fighting the Philistines. And while he's fighting the Philistines, there's this soldier of the Philistine ready to attack and kill David. The Bible put emphasis on the fact that this man sought after killing David, almost implying that he would have followed through with his desire. And at this time, the Bible tells us that David was tired, David was weary, David was exhausted. And you know, this is chapter 21 of 2 Samuel, so David is a little up there in age. And although we know David is a warrior, he's a soldier, he's the main guy on the battlefield, it don't matter when you're exhausted. Your credentials don't matter when you're exhausted.
Right.
How strong of a Christian you are don't matter when you're exhausted. When you're exhausted, can't nothing change that state you're in.
All right.
David is in this position. Yes, he's a soldier, but he's exhausted. There's somebody on that battlefield ready to kill him. And it almost seems as if he would have came through. He would have followed through with the killing of David. But somebody in David's camp, Abishai, came to David's rescue and slew that Philistine before that Philistine had a chance to slew David. Right. Sometimes we need stronger than you help. Sometimes we need somebody who's not as exhausted to come to our rescue. Who is the Abishai in our life? Guess who? God. Right. Who is the Abishai in our life? Christ. Yes, so when we get worn out, the salvation power that is found in Jesus Christ never wears out, never tears out, never leaves you, never forsakes you. It is there with us. So when God tells you to live, believe me, he didn't leave you without. He said live because he provided you with the provisions necessary to make sure that you keep on breathing.
Yes, sir.
Who is the Abishai in your life? It may not be possible to get through things on your own, but with God it is. Mark 10 verses 27 says, with people it is impossible, but not with God. For all things are possible with God. So when you live with God, living is actually possible. But if you're trying to live without God, I don't need to finish the rest. He cares so much for us, guys. I want y'all to understand. He cares so much for us that he sent his son to die for us. He cares so much for us that he sent his son to die for us. When you see this word, and I know it may seem crazy how I'm pulling all of this from this one word, I want y'all to understand what God is saying. He's saying live. Live. If you know that life without God means only death, then you know how important this statement is.
All right.
When you understand that life lived in sin is a life lived for death only, you understand the importance of this statement.
All right.
God says, I saw you in your sin. I saw you immersed in the world. And I didn't want you to stay in that state of death. I wanted you to live. And so I'm providing you with the means that allows you to live. And so I'm going to send my son down here to die for you so that if you die in his death and rise in his resurrection, you too can live.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Amen. Yes, sir. He's trying to give us something. He's trying to give us something. He's shouting out to us, live. And John 3:16 tells us what that really means. He said, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, so that whosoever shall believe shall live.
Yes, sir. All right.
So I tell you this, if you can't find your value in your friends, if you can't find your value in your brothers and sisters, if you can't find your value in your parents, if you can't find your value in your children, if you can't find your value in your worth in your job, if you can't find your worth in your education, if you can't find your worth in your wardrobe that's sitting in your closet, if you can't find your worth in the shoes that you got on, if you can't find your worth in your preacher, if you can't find your worth in your elders, if you can't find your worth in your spouse, if you can't find your worth in anything in this world, you can find your worth lying there on the cross. I'm trying to tell you that Jesus is here for you. He has died for you. And all of that is a product of God's love for you. All of that is a product of how much we mean to God. We live in a not so awesome world, but we serve an all-time awesome God, and he thinks the world of us. He says, I'm going to give you more than what you really need.
It's all right.
And he does just that by giving us Jesus Christ. If you think there ain't nobody in this world able to give you your worth that is due, you're absolutely right. Because the only one that knows how much you're worth is God. So if you were me, I'll listen to him when he tells you how much you mean to him. Don't listen to the lies of Satan that is covered in this world. Listen to the truth of God's word. And when he tells you to live, he's telling you, you mean so much to me that all I want to do is give you life.
It's all right.
Repeat after me. It's time.
It's time
to get your worth.
Your worth.
It's time.
It's time
to get your worth.
Your worth.
You sold it. You sold it. How How could you do that? How could you sell this? That was our family jewel. It meant everything to us. My mother gave it to me, and then I passed it down to you, and you sold it. But mama, listen, mama, I knew we needed the money. We needed the money so bad. We didn't have any money. So that was the only thing I could think of. Look, he gave me $100 for it. He gave you $100. You sold our family most precious jewel for $100. I can't have this conversation with you right now. I just can't talk with you right now. Do you know her son sold their family most precious jewel that was worth over $10,000 for $100? That boy sold their family's most precious jewel that was worth over $10,000 for $100. He sold it because he didn't know the value of it. He didn't know its history, and he didn't know the value in terms of money either. He didn't know its worth. He thought it was just some random item laying around the house that he could get a quick amount of money for to help out in their momentary situation. He didn't know how much it was really worth. See, some of us are out here selling ourselves to the bully. Some of us are out here selling ourselves to the pain. Some of us are out here selling ourselves to the sexual activities. Some of us are out here selling ourselves to the gossiping. Some of us out here selling ourselves to the lies of the world. Some of us out here selling ourselves to people who ain't our spouse. Some of us out here selling ourselves to depression. Some of us out here selling ourselves to suicide, and it's because we don't know how much we're really worth. We have to stop giving into the lies of Satan. Just because we're not aware of our worth. God is looking, he's saying, man, I can't even have this conversation because I'm trying to tell you how much you're worth. You're worth over $10,000 and you selling yourself only $100. Stop selling yourselves to the world. Stop selling yourselves to these people who only want to hurt you. Stop selling yourselves to the anger. Stop selling yourself to the isolation. Stop selling yourself to this idea, image of popularity. Stop selling yourself to what the world wants you to be, and start selling yourself to God. Because he's the only one that's going to pay you for what you're actually worth. Try to remember that this world is not so awesome of a place. But we do serve an all-time awesome God.